Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about the side effects that I suffer with from taking fentanyl. I did make a video previous to this. It was my first video talking about my addiction to fentanyl, how I got into it, how I deal with it, and also my plans for coming off of that as well, so I'll link that below. I've been on fentanyl for quite some time now, so not all of the side effects that I had at the start are the same as what I have now. Some of them have changed a little bit and some of them have changed in intensity as well, so I'll discuss all of that with you. And obviously some of the side effects that I have are from being in a long-term addiction, and obviously some of the symptoms that I have are from long-term use of fentanyl, and also just from being in an addiction and what comes with that. I was hoping this video might also help if you think you have family members or friends that are using opiates. It might help you with what you can kind of look out for in terms of symptoms and side effects and how they might be acting. It may help with that as well. So the very first side effect that I've had since I started taking opiates, or actually started taking any medication whatsoever, is something I always get. It doesn't matter if it's for mental health medication or pain medication, is nausea and sickness. I've had that for basically my whole life. It doesn't matter what medication I take, I always feel sick and often are sick as well. This started obviously when I first went on to opiates, but when I went on to fentanyl it was really bad. I was sick most days at the start, and then when I increased as well I was quite often sick, but I felt sick a lot as well. I couldn't stomach food a lot of the time. I still do feel sick quite a lot now, especially when it's the day that I've changed my patch. So for example, I changed my patch today, so I've kind of picked at food, but I haven't eaten like any real meals. I've just kind of picked and had little snacks. I just can't really stomach a full meal when I change my patch. The other days now are fine. Before it was literally a case of I will eat tiny little snacks throughout the day. To help me with the kind of sickness and the nausea, I was given some medication when it got really bad. I did lose an awful lot of weight, so it was to try and help counteract that. However, the medication I was given made me feel really dizzy, which then made me sick. So there was really no benefit to me taking it whatsoever. So I only took it for a couple of weeks, and like I say, no benefit, made me feel no better, if not worse. So I stopped that. So it was something that I just knew over time I would kind of move on from. And this kind of leads me on to my next kind of side effect, if you like, or symptom, was the weight loss. I kind of mentioned this in my first video, but I went from a UK size 8 in clothing to smaller than a UK size 4, which is about the smallest size that a lot of shops do. I was tiny, absolutely tiny. I've managed to put on quite a lot of weight now through just persevering. Obviously, like I said, my sickness isn't quite as bad as it was and the nausea isn't quite as bad, so I am able to stomach food a lot better now, and I have managed to put on about 1.5 stone. At one point when I was at my smallest I was 6.5 stone. I was really tiny. I've now got up to 8 stone, which is in the normal weight category for my height. I'm only small, so I'm only like 5'3". So yeah, I'm really glad. I've been trying really hard, but honestly when I was at my smallest, my hips were sticking out, my ribs were sticking out, I'd lost all my boobs, my bum, I had no figure whatsoever, and it really mentally had an impact on me. I felt awful, I felt so unattractive. I put clothes on and I just wanted to rip them up because nothing fit me, everything was hanging off me. I was like a skeleton in clothes. Everything looked awful. I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to dress up, I just wanted to wear baggy clothes to mask it all the time because it just really affected me. This kind of sickness and the nausea side affected things for me in a physical health sense, but the weight loss really affected me mentally. I I just felt horrible. I felt like no one was going to find me attractive. I hated looking at myself in clothes in the mirror because I just felt like I looked so awful. And I did. I looked really, really unhealthy. I don't really have any pictures around that time because I wouldn't really take any pictures because I just hated the way I looked. But I'm a lot happier now. I feel like I look nice in clothes now. Clothes actually fit me. Like I say, I'm still small and probably a little bit smaller than I'd like to be, but I feel a lot happier in myself and I feel like I look a lot better. There is also another video I'm going to be doing which is kind of linked to this. I have in my life enjoyed a lot of skinny shaming. It's been really quite horrific from people that I barely even know, people I worked with, up to family members and friends that have known me, you know, forever. So I've dealt with a lot of that and it's just really awful. It used to really, really upset me because it wasn't my fault. It wasn't like I tried to do this, and even if I had tried to do this, what business is it of yours? But it wasn't like I was trying. I wanted to put weight on and I physically couldn't because of the medication. You know, I wanted to put weight on but I physically could not do it. But that's what affected me a lot mentally, and that was the one that I struggled with the most. One thing you can probably tell is I'm itchy, really, really itchy all the time, especially when the day that I change my patch, like today, everything is constantly so itchy. My skin, I just want to scratch everywhere. I want to rip my hair out, my skin, everything is super, super itchy. It's not really a major concern. It's not really anything that's going to affect me mentally or physically. But it is really annoying. It's really, really irritating. I feel like I'm restless at night, and you're probably going to notice this throughout the video now, but I'm really, really, really itchy. Like my whole skin just feels like I'm going to scratch it all over. So that's something I've had from the start all the way through, and I probably will have. Something people talk about a lot when it comes to things like morphine. But yeah, that's something that really annoys me. But like I say, it's not really a major issue. It's nothing that really affects me that much. Another side effect that I get is dizziness. So again, it was a lot worse at the start. I kind of mentioned in my previous video I couldn't drive for a long time, partly because of, you know, passing out, which I'll go on to as well. But dizziness, I was constantly felt almost a bit drunk, like that feeling when you're drunk, when you kind of like, you think you're walking in a straight line and you think you're really with it but you're actually not. That's how I was kind of all over the place, and it used to be like that constantly for me, near enough constantly. Now it's probably only, I don't know, maybe a couple of times a week I'll get a bit dizzy and it'll only last like 10 seconds and then I'll be fine. So it's not really anywhere near as bad as it used to be for me, which I'm glad about because it's not a nice feeling. When I said about kind of feeling drunk, I used to quite badly get slurring of my words. So I would sound quite drunk as well, especially when I'd had to take quite a substantial amount of Oromorph, or when I first went on Fentanyl, I was getting quite slurry with my words and anyone would think that I was drunk. I kind of got quite, as I mentioned before, quite giggly, quite giddy, and it literally was like I was either high or drunk. So yeah, I experienced a lot of those kind of the feelings and the side effects and symptoms of what you get when you've had a few drinks. It was similar to that for me, kind of linked to the dizziness as well that I mentioned previously, and I suppose kind of to the drunk feeling. I used to pass out. I mentioned this again previously, but it started when I took tramadol and kind of progressed as I went through, where when I first started on a medication, because it is so strong, fentanyl was obviously the worst for this, I would take it and then tramadol and morphine are faster acting. So with those, it was kind of, I would pass out within sort of 10 to 15 minutes for around 30 to 60 minutes normally. But with fentanyl, it's over a longer duration. You have a patch on for 3 days, so it wouldn't work in the same kind of way, but it'd be after a few hours all I want to do is sleep, like really lethargic, really fatigued. That happened for quite some time. I now get the opposite of that. So today I've changed my patch, as I mentioned. So tonight I will struggle to sleep really badly. I'll struggle kind of get insomnia the night that I change it in the morning, so that night I will struggle, and usually the night before as well. Not always, but usually the night before I will also struggle to sleep. I'll be awake. Partly it may be due to the fact that I am thinking about it and thinking I changed my patch in the morning, as I mentioned in my last video. Being an addict, I'm always looking for that next, can't wait till I get it, can't wait to, oh, I get to change my patch in the morning, and it's kind of exciting. I'm like a kid at Christmas, I can't sleep. So I think part of it's that. I'm slightly withdrawing as well because it does dip as I get to the evening before. So there's kind of a mixture of things that I think cause the insomnia the night before, but I definitely get insomnia from having changed it the night of, which I know I'll struggle with tonight. But for me, the benefits of having it taken away my pain way outweigh the negative of not being able to sleep for a night. So I just kind of deal with it. Once every 3 days I know that I'm not going to sleep very well, and it just kind of is what it is. Another side effect that I get, which isn't again a major issue, is I get a really dry mouth. I'm really thirsty, again more so on the day that I've changed my patch. So today it used to be basically every day, and I could just drink and like still have that real dry mouth feeling, kind of a bit of a sore throat, and just feeling really thirsty. But now, yeah, it's mostly just on the day that I've changed my patch I get like that. I could just drink gallons of water and still be thirsty. So yeah, but again, not a major issue. You just drink and that resolves it. So it's not anything major. So moving on to the side effects that I've had that have basically gotten worse over time or have started more recently due to kind of long-term use of fentanyl, or also, you know, from being addicted. The worst thing that I've had that's only probably started in the last few months has been brain fog. I've never ever had this before, and it's really horrible. It will be a case of, my memory is absolutely terrible anyway, but I'll just forget random words. I'll be talking and the word will completely go from my mind, and for the life of me I can't think what it is, and I will tell my partner and I'll be describing the word. Luckily he knows that I struggle with this, but I'll just be describing this word. Like, I think it was microphone the other day, I couldn't remember, and I kept saying that thing that you talk into, and it makes things louder, and you hold it like this, and he's like, what, a microphone? I'm like, yeah, microphone. That's probably 4 or 5 times a day I just forget the word completely from my head. I've got no recollection of what that word is, and it's really frustrating. Luckily, like I said, people around me kind of know about it and they can help me. But in my line of work, I work in sales, and sometimes I will just be stood there and I've completely forgotten the word and I can't describe what I'm trying to sell. And it's not anything major, it's just more frustrating. It doesn't really affect me too badly. I just learn to laugh it off, but it is really annoying when you try and think of something. I have noticed that my memory in general has been affected as well from long-term use of fentanyl, which is kind of to be expected. As I said, my memory wasn't that great to begin with, so I've not got that much hope for the future, but it's not something that is of a major issue at this stage, so I'm not too concerned about it. It's just more irritating than anything else. Something else that I found, which you may or may not have noticed in my videos, I try and fight it as much as I can, is I have got a bit twitchy. So I have got a little bit of a twitch, which I never used to have before. It will usually just be kind of me just moving, or me like flicking my hair, or it's like I'm conscious that I'm doing it, but I can't help it, and it's only when I really think about it that I can stop doing it. And that has only started probably maybe in the last few months. It's not been very long at all. It does make you think that like this medication's caused something like that. Like it kind of makes you realize the kind of strength and the intensity of what you're taking and how much it can have an impact on things like that you know, I never had before, and now I've probably got for the rest of my life. Again, it's nothing major. There are people with much worse side effects from medication, but I just wanted to be honest, and that is something that I've noticed more recently. I kind of touched on this previously, but something I've definitely noticed, and this kind of links more to the addiction side of things, is my anxiety around my medication. Anxiety in general, I mean, I've struggled with mental health for literally my entire life, and I've had generally every diagnosis going almost. Anxiety has kind of been the main issue that I've had, and it's been a real struggle for me, to the point where I tried to take my own life, that the anxiety was so bad I couldn't leave my house. I worried that every time anyone left the house they were going to die. So when my mum went to work, I was just absolutely beside myself thinking she was going to die. Say with my partner, if he wasn't home at a certain time, I was so convinced he died in a car accident or something. It was really awful at one point. This was before I was on any medication, any fentanyl or any opiates. It's now much better controlled. My anxiety in general is much better controlled. However, I've noticed over the time period of me being on fentanyl, it has increased around different things to what it was before. Generally, it's around my medication. So when I know that my patch change day is coming up, that increases my anxiety. I'm a little bit kind of excited, but also anxious. And also, if I'm running out, I do then again start to panic, and it's like, what if I run out, and what if the pharmacy doesn't have it because I need it? And it becomes kind of a bit of a vicious cycle. I do kind of panic a little bit about it. It's nothing that really affects me anywhere to the extremes of my anxiety previously, but it is something that I have noticed get a little bit worse. The great thing is, with my anxiety, my mental health issues in general, my partner is absolutely brilliant. He knows what to say, he knows how to calm me down, he knows how to make me feel reassured and feel much happier, much more content. So I'm really lucky to have him, and he really does help me feel better. So that is something which definitely counteracts the kind of anxiety. Linked to this as well, I do also get quite irritable, usually when I've either run out of my medication or it's the day before it being changed, and I'm slightly on a decline of the medication that's in my system. I can feel it lessen, so I can feel the pain come back a bit more, and I can feel some of the side effects of withdrawal coming out. So I do get a little bit snappier with my partner, with people around me, and I do just feel a little bit kind of aggy when I'm driving. I get a bit more road rage. My patience is much less. But I think that kind of comes down to the addiction side of things, and how I need this medication, you know, to survive. I need it. It's something I have to have, and if I don't, then it's, you know, it's a massive impact on my life. And I think that's why the irritability comes in, and also because people don't understand. Majority of the public do not understand. None of my friends and family have ever been through anything like this. I've not got addiction in this way in my family. So I understand that my family and friends are not going to get it. They're not going to quite relate to it. And so that kind of caused a bit more irritability, because I'm like, no one understands how I feel. But again, having my partner there, he's really great with me. He knows the right thing to say and do. So he does alleviate a lot of that from me. Again, with things like the addiction side of things, one thing I really struggle with when it comes to the night before, or if I have to go without, is, as I mentioned previously, the change in temperature. So generally the night before, I struggle with being too hot. I get clammy, I get sweaty, and I just feel like nothing I can do cools me down. Now, I'm someone, if anybody knows me, I'm always cold. Always, no matter what, always cold. So this is a weird thing for me to be hot, but I am like really hot and I just can't cool down. No matter what I do, I can't cool down, and it's really frustrating. And then I get more worked up because I'm hot, and it's just a bit of a vicious cycle. Now, like I said, this generally lasts the night before, so I can have a cold shower before bed, and then just lay on the top of the bed just with a thin blanket instead of the quilt over me, and it's not too much of an issue. But if I have to go without for a period of time without my medication, that's when it's a real issue. As I mentioned previously, that's when I start going burning up, sweating, my hair's wet, my clothes are wet, my pajamas are wet. I'm just absolutely sweating, and then I go freezing cold, so I am literally shivering, and it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, like I'm not the right temperature at all for the entire time until I get my medication again. So that is something which does have a huge impact on my life. It really does bother me. It's something I get quite insecure about and quite conscious of, because see, I don't want to be sweating, and it is a case of literally my hair is soaking wet, my clothes are wet. It's, you know, it's not an attractive sight. It's something I am really, really conscious of, and I don't want people to see. And then similarly, I go literally shivering at something you can't help but notice, and everyone kind of looks at me. It's, why have you gone from sweating to now shaking? Like, are you okay? Do you need to go home? It is something that draws a lot of attention, and so that is something that does bother me. Honestly, it's really hard to get comfortable when you're going hot and cold, and you're sweating up. And then when you're too hot and you're in bed and you're just getting restless and you've not slept, and you know, it's not great. And you get up in the morning, you're already feeling a bit groggy because you've not slept, and then your hair is soaking wet and your sheets are soaking wet, and it's just not nice at all, really. So that is something that has bothered me, especially more recently. But again, I think that's linked more to the addiction side of things than the medication, although it is a side effect of fentanyl, so it could be either. Another thing that I've struggled with more when it comes to when my medication's due is headaches. Again, I think this is just linked to the addiction side of things, so it's just because I need my medication, I'm going through slight withdrawals, and it's just a way of my body telling me that it needs this medication. And it's the same with most people when they're withdrawing or when they're going through an addiction. That's their body telling them that they need it. It could also be linked to the fact that I do get a dry mouth and I do get thirsty, so I'm not sure if it's to do with that, but I have noticed it more the longer that I've been on the medication, so I believe it will be linked more to my addiction, but I'm not 100% sure with that one. So that kind of sums up the side effects that I get. There's quite a list there. Obviously some much worse than others, some which have impacted me more, and some which have got worse or got better over time, some which are new, and I'm sure that there'll always be kind of new ones that will come. Things will go as I get more used to the fentanyl, and as my tolerance increases, maybe I'll end up not having the nausea, which would be really, really nice. So the only thing that I found that really makes them worse, obviously not having my medication is a kind of given, because I struggle with the kind of withdrawing as well. But if I have excessive heat on where my patch is, so if I had a hot bath, and when I use the hot tubs, for example, if I put a hot water bottle on my back when I used to have an electric blanket, that would increase my side effects a lot. It would make them a lot worse. Generally, the sickness and the nausea would be 10 times worse. They would be really bad, to the point where often I would be sick even if I hadn't been sick for a long time. So that was something that would get a lot worse. The itching would also get a lot worse. I think it's something to do with it gets more medication into your system a lot faster, something like that. I am not a doctor, so I don't know exactly how it works, but I believe it's something to do with that. So that's why the symptoms do get worse. And also I do feel that kind of like drunk, kind of high feeling that I mentioned previously. I do get that a lot more, and also that kind of comes with the dizziness and the kind of drowsiness as well. So just everything is just increased a lot and just is a lot worse. So that's the only thing that I found really makes it worse. And like I say, obviously being without it, I do get my other side effects, which I mentioned previously with regards to withdrawing. So that is a bit of a summary of, as I said, the side effects that I get from fentanyl, from opiates in general, and how I kind of deal with those. A lot of them I kind of don't deal with, I just go about my daily life, and I just know that that's part of it, and it kind of just is what it is. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's helping with my pain. And for me, the benefits of being not completely pain-free, but majority of the time being with a bearable level of pain, outweigh the negatives of having the symptoms and side effects. So for me, it's completely worth it, but everybody's different. There are many people that probably couldn't cope with the side effects, and I get that. A lot of the mental health medication that I've been on, which is basically every medication at some point throughout my life, I couldn't cope with the side effects, could not cope with them at all. Also, they didn't benefit me in terms of my mental health, but I just couldn't deal with side effects. They were just way too bad for me. It's just something to bear in mind. Everybody's different, and what works for me may not work for everybody else. I hope that's helped you to understand a little bit more, maybe. As I said, if you think that you may have family or friends, or you know that you have family or friends that use fentanyl, it might help you to understand them a little bit more, understand what they go through. Everybody has different symptoms and side effects of things as well, so there may be many things that I have not listed. I'll put a link in the description box of, you know, other symptoms and side effects that somebody who takes fentanyl may be experiencing. But you know, the list goes on. People might experience things that aren't even on that list, so it's just a case of maybe even asking people, you know, how are you feeling? I really appreciate when people kind of just ask me and we have a conversation about how I'm feeling. I also like it when people don't always presume that it's from a medication, and that, you know, I might just be feeling poorly. It helps if people understand that, okay, this happens at this stage. I know when I change my patch I get this and this and this symptom. I've just started a new job, and I had that conversation with them that, do you know what, sometimes I get dizzy and I might need to just sit down for a second and then I'll be fine. I also get a bit of nausea and sickness sometimes, so it's just something to bear in mind. And just having that open conversation with people, I think, is really helpful for you, but for also for them, so that they know what's going on and they can hopefully help you. My new work were incredible, and they just said to me, what can we do to help? How can we help you? They also said about my back, is there anything that we can do to help? And I just really appreciated that, because there was no judgment there. It was just a case of, how can we help? And I think that's the way that, you know, friends and family of addicts, people with long-term pain, people with long-term mental health issues, just need to try and just be there and just ask, how can I help? Because is there anything that I can do? Sometimes there's nothing you can do, and that's also fine. I know most people want to help, but it is okay to not be able to do anything and just physically be there. My partner is a brilliant example of this. He's just there. He doesn't have to even do or say anything, but he is there if I need to vent, if I need to cry, if I need a cuddle. And he knows, I mean, he's known me for 8 years, so I should hope he knows what I need when I'm struggling. But he is really great. But he'll also ask, you know, what can I do? How can I help? How are you feeling? What's on your mind? And that is just great. That is just really great. We have a very open and honest relationship, and it's just brilliant. It's just a lovely way to be. So I'm really lucky to have him. I really do appreciate you watching this video. I'm hoping my next video is going to be something prison related, so watch out for that, and I'll see you very soon.